Okay, back again, another emoji testing, broadcast, podcast, live stream, or whatever that is. So basically, I'm in the intentional scheduled or unintentional free time because for some reason it should be an intentional scheduled free time, but it basically changed into a different agenda, so it can be considered as an unintentional free time as well, which is supposed to be have an extension before the noon. But yeah, I basically didn't try to utilize it at all because I'm still focused on my main job of tasks, and for some reason right now I'm still pretty much do the same thing, but I decided to do a little bit live stream for a while. I guess I don't know whether I will get interrupted or not in shorts, perhaps, I don't know, because for some reason the unintentional free time is pretty much start in the same exact useful intentional scheduled free time, which is already more than an hour ago, almost 1.5 hours ago. So I basically start those free time by doing some another interview into a new opportunity, which is basically still far from what I can consider it as a successful opportunity or not, because for some reason I do have several ones in the past that basically didn't have any further updates, so it's just eventually gone like that, and I just basically can only accept it because although I basically pretty sure that the test or the online test is supposed to be good, but maybe because it turns out there is a new candidate that definitely better than me, or maybe the applicants or maybe the application is just no longer available. I don't know, because for some reason the tech winter is definitely still happening, although it's already happened for many years. But yeah, I guess there's basically so many things that's supposed to be inefficient in the past, and I don't know whether it is gonna be have brighter future, perhaps, because for some reason there is a lot of going on in the artificial intelligence world, which basically kind of like beat the capitalism. So open source is finally able to beat capitalism in terms of the artificial intelligence, although I'm not sure whether it will apply it into another different technology other than the artificial intelligence, because for some reason the artificial intelligence that we got is still far from what we see many in the science fiction. So yeah, to be honest, last week I didn't try to create any personal productivity things because yeah, most of the time is basically filled with the day off, the public day off that's no longer happen again until the next 2 months, which is pretty annoying. So the only thing that I can do to have a day off is definitely from my personal leave. So yeah, although I used to have a very long intentional scheduled free time perhaps last week, but I decided to not utilize it at all, and I do a bad behavior instead, which is a little bit regretful perhaps, but it's okay since I'm still in a day off environment. So oh well, because for some reason it's been a while, it's been almost a month that I basically didn't visit the dedicated place that I want to focus on personal productivity things. And yeah, I don't know, it should be possible tomorrow, but most likely I'm not try to go there again because I do have another interview into a new opportunity as well with a different company, obviously, and there is still another step after it, although it's not gonna be an easy step as well, I guess. I don't know, because yeah, it's definitely gonna be a technical stuff that's just unknown to be predicted. Even the non-technical stuff is can be unpredictable as well, because yeah, it's just pretty unknown what's exactly wrong with ourselves and why we basically failed on specific application. Maybe it's just a matter of fate or destiny, I don't know. So yeah, last week I basically able to meet with my high school friends twice, so unlike the college friend that I probably met several weeks earlier, that I eventually only able to meet one of them once. I guess there is actually twice, the one that basically move on into a next step of their life, but yeah, it's basically pretty short. So in terms of duration, maybe it's still bigger on the one that's able to do it only once. But yeah, there definitely a possibility in the future which we are still able to meet again, obviously. But yeah, it's definitely gonna be after the longest day off in a year, perhaps, I'm not sure. So yeah, but yeah, I'm still, so right now, after the high school friend and college friend has finally come back into their own life overseas, and I basically only have to wait and just basically fulfill my main job of tasks. Colleagues, perhaps, I don't know how to explain this, but yeah, the only thing that I can meet is obviously only them, and that's because it was definitely required to do so. Although I'm basically pretty lazy to do, especially when in the fasting month that's supposed to be not happen last year, because the required quota that I basically need to work at specific place only is still pretty few, so it's just pretty convenient during that time. And right now it's already getting bigger, and sometimes yeah, it's just need to happen in not so convenient time. But well, I don't know whether it is gonna be more exhausted or it's gonna be just like any other working on the specific place only, which still pretty much exhausted, because yesterday I just do those things, and at the time that I basically come back into my usual place to work, to continue the work or to continue the unfinished work, it's just not possible because I'm just pretty exhausted. I even lost several mandatory and also optional things that I must do every day. That's definitely not a good thing, because that's the reason why at some point I just don't want to have a better things in this world if I basically need to sacrifice to have a worse thing in the hereafter life. Because yeah, in the hereafter life it's definitely gonna be for eternity, yeah. Although it's definitely pretty hard if we basically need to balance those two things, and especially when we just eventually got a task for choosing or making the balance even harder than before. Because yeah, most people is definitely not try to do this kind of things, and yeah, most people can obviously, because they do have a different type of belief for what will happen to them when they are already gone from this world. Because yeah, obviously we just have to admit that living in this world is pretty much temporary, and you basically cannot live for eternity, and it's basically pretty short. Consider there is already a lot of things that basically happened in the past, and you can only pretty much experience a single era in your lifetime. So you can see how the previous era was like was really like, but yeah, it's just like watching a movie that's basically never happened, or even a movie that will happen in the future that we basically no longer live until those things is actually happen. I don't know, but well, I basically try to do some businesses like some other high school friend that basically already pretty successful in this kind of business, and it turns out it's definitely gonna be harder than I thought, because yeah, I don't know, maybe because there is a lot of competition and there's some many unknown things, or even an effort that's definitely not a free. So it's definitely an effort that can be considered as a risk of for this business, because you basically need a stake to refine the places so that it can be better in terms of the sales. Even though, yeah, I don't know whether I will basically spend all of my money just for consuming things that I basically already need to avoid, already try to sacrifice a lot of things that I basically wanted, although I do have the money to spend it, but I decided to not spend it, because unless it was basically pretty cheap, so I'm still eventually spend it. But yeah, maybe I'm just trying to spend something that, I don't know, have more time to spend in the weekend, obviously, because I'm still often visiting the favorite e-commerce, even though yeah, all of those things is pretty much waste as well, and it's gonna be more and more expensive, more and more money that I basically waste on those things. But at least if I basically try to waste a lot of money on another things that basically doesn't really able to amplify my income, it's pretty much the same. So I basically wanted to waste my money to risk things that is still pretty much physical things, and it's still pretty much accessible, perhaps, because yeah, if it is inaccessible, then yeah, it's basically worse than the digital things, because digital things is have a very big advantage of how it was basically accessible at any place that you wanted. But yeah, physical things is basically pretty tricky, because it's often requires a lot of stake if you wanted to have those things in a nearby places that you currently live right now. So yeah, it's already almost 15 minutes, and I don't know what kind of things that I just said for this quite long time. Maybe there's a lot of quiet, and there's a lot of unnecessary things, or I don't know, the things that's basically pretty hard to be understand. Perhaps I think I will try to stop the stream because I wanted to continue into the pre-recorded emoji